Welcome to the Wisdom and Wilderness Podcast. Real men, real life, real faith. The newest podcast for men with your host, Mitch London.
All right. Welcome back, guys. My guest today, Jason Priest, and he has got the dad bod health. You've got the man up community. You're a husband. You're a father. And it sounds like you've got all kinds of pots going around that you've got your attention pouring into a lot of different things. But I wanted to thank you today for coming on here and chatting with me. Wisdom and Wilderness Show, we talk about real men, real life, and real faith. And so, Jason, thank you so much. And why don't you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us about who you are and what's got your heart, what's got your passion right now.
Yeah, brother, I appreciate you having me on here, man. And, hopefully I can add some value to your audience. A little bit about me, you kind of nailed it. I'm a dad and a husband first, above all. My son is my everything, and my wife is my best friend. And so very, very big on the family man kind of outlook, and they come first, and really above anything else, they're my rocks. So I started my career. I won't get into my whole backstory unless you want to take it there later in the show. We can certainly dive in, but just to kind of give you a rundown of who I am, what I do. I started my career as a registered nurse in the ICU back in 2003. So I'm dating myself a little bit. I turned 40 in November. So so I've been a nurse for a really long time, and I saw a lot of scary things in the ICU, as you could probably well imagine. I've done chest compressions on some really young men, and so that isn't really what motivated me to start my business, because it was so far in the beginning of my journey. But visions and flashbacks of some of the stuff that I saw and dealt with at that time definitely played a role in me starting my business. And with that being said, I was at 23, I was probably about as mature as I was at 13. And so it probably was a good thing in the fact that, I was numb to a lot of what was really going on in there. As a 40-year-old, I don't know that I would be able to go in and deal with dying patients on a day in and day out basis. And so probably worked to my advantage that I was so immature at that time. But spent 6 years in there, met my wife during that time while I was in there. We got married pretty young. I started in the ICU at 23. We got married at 25. Lost my mom 2 months after we got married. She was 49 at the time. And my wife and her were really starting to form a very close, tight bond. And so lost my mom. After that, kind of went into a pretty dark depression, as you can well imagine, losing your mom that age. And especially being as close as we were and as close as my wife and my mom were. So with that being said, I got married. 2 months later, she dies. Not long after that, we find out that my wife gets accepted to pharmacy school. My wife is a pharmacist. And so we move away. At the time, I was living in a town called Denton, which is a little bit north of Dallas. And we move away to a small town called Abilene, Texas, which is not really West Texas. Some people think of it as West Texas. It's more Central Texas. But it was 3 hours from anybody that I knew. I was going to a strange town, had to change jobs, and really and was already depressed, was already starting to gain weight, wasn't taking my health seriously, kind of got that, got comfortable once we got married, and really wasn't into working out, wasn't into fitness at all. The only workouts I was doing were the 12-ounce curl, probably 16-ounce curls on the golf course. One thing that we were doing a lot of was I worked night shift in the ICU, so my friends and I, my other nurse coworkers, would go and play golf from, we'd get off at 7. We'd meet at the golf course by 7:30, 7:45 and play golf until 11, and then you drink beer the whole time, go to bed, and get up and do it all again the next day. So it became a vicious cycle, as you can imagine. A lot of fast food. So one thing led to another, man. And while we were in Abilene, my wife had a awesome gym membership that was given to us for free for both of us, for her being in pharmacy school. she was the inaugural class at Texas Tech Pharmacy School in Abilene. So they gave us this awesome gym membership. It's still one of the best gyms I've ever stepped foot into. And I didn't use that damn thing until the 4th year that we were there. It just sat, and I think if I remember right, the membership itself was around $50 a person. It was a very nice, the nicest gym there. But if you compared it to like a Lifetime, it was kind of on that level, but a little bit smaller and more exclusive. They had the whole smoothie bar and all that fancy stuff.
Okay.
So it was really nice. And I didn't use it. And I gained a bunch of weight, got up to 60 pounds overweight, and was overwhelmed and didn't know where to start. I tried fad diets. There was a time where I didn't drink any water at all, and I was living off of those Dole juice cartons, like the little half gallon or whatever juice cartons.
Right.
I remember I'd go shopping at the beginning of the week, dude, and get 8 of those things. And that was my water, my fluid all week long. And so you can imagine all that sugar, the piss poor eating habits, fast food, pizza, ice cream after dinner, the vicious cycle that a lot of men get into these days. And it just became a vicious cycle and a downward spiral for me. Had the big gut, was out of breath when I was tying my shoes, couldn't go up a flight of stairs without being winded, had the man boobs, and just didn't like where I was at. And finally, got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I was determined to figure out a way. And so basically, I remember vividly sitting on the curb, thinking that I was going to start running. I was going to become a runner and lose the weight that way. And that's just not sustainable for me. I was never a runner. I never could do long distances. I played soccer for 15 years in high school, or from a young age all through high school. Wasn't in high school for 15 years, but from a young age all the way through high school. Very competitive in soccer. Played on the Olympic development team and had a lot going there, but just didn't have a heart for it anymore. So I had fitness in my background, but I played forward. So I was a sprinter, not a long distance runner.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started trying to force these runs, man. I'd go for a mile jog or a mile and a half jog. And I remember sitting on the curb in front of our house in Abilene with my headphones in, trying to give myself that pep talk to just get up and go. And I'd sit there for 20 and 30 minutes sometimes thinking I was stretching and like getting warmed up. And really all I was doing was making excuses because I didn't want to do it. And I tried fad diets, tried the low carb, none of that nonsense worked for me. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to figure out a way. There's got to be a better way. And so we moved back. I got involved in the gym the last year that we were there. And I was able to drop 60 pounds in 9 months after really figuring out a system that would work for me. Became part of a community, which was a big reason why I started the Man Up community, because it was such an integral part of my health journey that I know the power of community. And when you try to go at it alone, it can be a long, dark, lonely path, man. It's a tough road ahead, especially on those days where you just don't feel like eating another salad and you don't feel like going on another jog. The community aspect was huge for me. So I dropped the weight. Got really involved with health and wellness when we moved back to Dallas because I started working for a corporate wellness company, became a personal trainer, fitness nutrition specialist, got into some health and performance coaching, and really did that for about 8 years, and just took all of my experience from my own weight loss journey, and really just grouped it all together and took my knowledge and experience and kind of leverage it to start my business. And that's really, what brought me here today. It's been a long ride. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I've got it all figured out in terms of business, because I'm about 1.5 years in. But I was off Facebook and off all social media for 2 full years prior to starting my business. So, you and I met on Facebook, so you can clearly see where I came from, not having a presence at all online, to now having a very solid reputation. And I say that as a humble brag because I'm a very humble dude, but I put out consistent content, and my goal for my content is to bring awareness to the situation that, the whole concept behind my company with the Dad Bod Health is bring awareness around the dad bod, because I vividly remember doing chest compressions on guys who quote unquote only had a dad bod. And it's just not a healthy trend. And this body positivity movement that we've got going on in our country and painting this picture that, we should all love ourselves for who we are and where we're at in our journey. And I'm all about self-love, man. That's something you should always love yourself. But as a person and as a country, we've got to hold ourselves to a higher standard when it comes to health. Especially as a father, I take my role very seriously. I firmly believe that every father has the moral and ethical obligation as well as responsibility to lead by example, not just to help their kids live a healthy lifestyle and hopefully make an impact on the childhood obesity trend, but to also be around long-term for their children, to watch them pursue greatness. And so that's a little bit about me. You can ask me any questions you want. I know I kind of went off on a soapbox there, but hopefully your audience has a little bit of an idea of who I am and what I'm about.
No, that's awesome, man. It's really cool to kind of hear the backstory and the journeys. And health is one of those things, I think, especially for men, that it can be so easy just to adapt to the current situation.
Yes.
And so you said something that everybody has thought, and we've all hit this point in our lives, but I was sick and tired of being sick and tired.
No doubt.
Well, that's kind of the spot where you can make a decision, or you can continue to just adapt what is. So I'm curious as to because so many men have said that. How many times, and you especially in this industry, this is my year. This is the time. I'm tired of doing this. Something happens, and it's like, okay, now it's important for a brief moment, and I have to make a decision why that motivation is still happening there. Otherwise, I just slip back, and I go back to the recliner, and I go back to the chair, and I go back to that. I know for a lot of men, it sucks because you just don't feel good. Like you just feel like crap all the time.
Right.
Joints hurt, your body hurts because you're in horrible shape. And then the prospect of going and now exercising and getting my body back in shape means I'm going to have to hurt worse for a while before I start to feel better. And so I think guys come up to that point of like, they're sick and tired of the sick and tired, but what have you seen is a difference maker of men that decide I'm going to push through or I'm just going to succumb and adapt?
Yeah, it's a great question, man. And I'll kind of tell you, I did an article on LinkedIn, part one of my story, which is really just the backstory, and it covers even earlier in the journey from where I started. I kind of started from the hospital, but I've been sick and tired of being sick and tired twice in my life. One of them was weight related, and one of them was drug related. The drug related was methamphetamines. I really have done everything except for put a needle in my arm, and my breaking point was I was invited over to two buddies' house who were ready to do the needle in the arm. And that was my golden moment that I needed to say, you know what? No more. Screw this, man. I got to get my life together. And as soon as I saw that, I walked out of that house, went home, and from that day forward, put my nose to the grindstone. And that's what propelled me to get into nursing school and get my head on straight and get out of that. And the reason that I say that is because being sick and tired, if that's truly what you're going through, you've got to decide if you're going to continue to fall into weak and poor habits in terms of letting that process continue, or if you're going to man up and do something about it. And the bottom line is this, man, we've got one body. We're put on this earth one time. And the longer that you delay taking action, and we all know this, right? Most of us know that what we should be doing, but the longer that you delay, the harder it gets. And I speak from experience. I'm so happy that I made my transformation back when I was, late 20s, early 30s versus trying to do it now, because I know how much harder it would be. And so to answer your question, the thing is you've got to realize that it goes both ways. And so I'll give you this example. When you're fit and healthy, and then you start packing on some pounds and you start working towards the unhealthiest version of you. So whether for you that's 20 pounds or that's 40 pounds, or maybe that's 80 or 100 pounds, the body's an amazing thing. The body is a machine. And when your machine senses that you're getting sick, from the inside and things aren't going well and you're not in optimal health, it does a fantastic job at compensating. Mm-hmm. And it will try to make you feel as good as it possibly can in your situation. And so what you have to realize is it also works in reverse. And when you are at your unhealthiest state and you are in suboptimal health, and again, that could be 20 pounds, that could be 80 pounds. If you hit that place, and that's when you say, you know what, I've had enough, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. To your point, you mentioned that you're going to have to go through some pain and some, some uncomfortable situations before you feel good again. And that's where I have to disagree a little bit, because it's all in the approach. And here's the reason I say that. And this is part of my message, is that I am not your standard online fitness coach. People don't come to me normally to get ripped and shredded and get abs. Like, I can help you do that. That's not my passion. My passion is helping people get healthy and achieve optimal health, the highest possible quality of life they can have, but also give them a blueprint for sustainability. I'm very much, clearly you can see my logo in the background. I'm very much a beer and burger guy. Food is one of the many joys of life, and I love life. And if you, I'll use this example. If you go and look at my Instagram feed, you're not going to see any workout videos. You're not going to see any gym pictures. I have one gym picture on there, and the reason that I have the gym picture on there is because exactly what we're talking about right now, is that recrafting my message. Part of that has been standing out in a crowded space, because the fitness industry in itself is very crowded space. And so what I try to do is come in and say, look, guys, like, that's not me. What I want you to know about me is I want to help you get healthy and feel better, but I also want you to know that there's a better way. And so I actually just made a brand new course on this that I'm launching now. I just started running ads for it and sent it out to my list. It's called 30 Days to Optimal Health. And the video in my sales funnel is amazing, dude. So like the beginning of the video, you'll love this. So the beginning of the video, I'm literally sitting on my couch watching football. It was like the Chiefs. It was the game before Chiefs and Titans, maybe the game before the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm sitting there and I've got a beer in my hand. Don't tell anybody this. It's a Miller Lite, and I don't drink Miller Lite. We had one because my family came over, and I was using it. I opened the beer literally to make smoke a beer can chicken. So, but don't tell anyone. Anyway, so I'm a craft beer guy. So I've got this Miller Lite in my hand, and the whole video is like, I jump up. The Chiefs like did something good. I jump up, and I was like, yeah, and I come to the camera. And I literally walk you through, and I do little video clips of how, the best way to go about going through this journey and not having it be this overwhelming uphill battle. And that's what most guys think. They're like, I've got to go at it, full bore if I'm going to get results. I got to be spending hours and hours in the gym. I've got to go low carb or keto. And the bottom line is most people fall flat on their face when they try to go about it that way. And so this course that I designed really is just to show you how simple it can be to get off the couch and go from the couch life to an active lifestyle, but without any strenuous exercises. Like literally during the course, some days I may just have you do some push-ups. Some days I might just have you do some squats or some jumping jacks. There's some days in there that is literally, you just go on a 30-minute walk. It's just trying to get you active again and get your body ready for the next step, which would then be to take your fitness to another level. And I have a course that kind of bridges over that. But one of the flaws in my business was I started out with the course that was after that. And I noticed there was a big gap in the market of lots of people have all these courses where, yeah, go get ripped and shredded, or, there's a ton of companies out there that, here's this workout, go spend 4 hours in the gym a week. Bottom line is most dudes don't want to do that, man. Like most dudes that like football and fast food on occasion, or burgers and beer and really just love life and don't want to look like a Men's Health cover model, they needed a better way. And that's what I wanted to come in and address. And so I know I went off on a soapbox there, but I wanted to highlight that, because not just to put a plug in for my course, but it's literally walking you, and this is how you need to approach it. Anybody out there listening, whether you buy my course or not, as a whole is irrelevant. My highlight here is for you to get from the couch to living an active lifestyle. The answer is not 5 days a week on the elliptical for 40 minutes and trying to go low carb and eating chicken, brown rice, and broccoli every meal. That's not sustainable. You and I both know that's not sustainable. That sounds awful to me, and it sounds awful to you. And so that's what I wanted to do, is really come up with a way to bridge that gap, to give men who aren't necessarily, like, most dudes don't want, many men do want abs. 99.9% of the dudes that want abs don't want to put in the work to get the abs. And that's okay. You don't need abs to be healthy or be the healthiest version of yourself. If you're 80 pounds overweight and I can take you from 80 pounds overweight to only 25 pounds overweight, do you know how much you've significantly reduced your health risks? Basically eliminated your chance for type 2 diabetes, at least in the immediate future, significantly reduced your chance of having a heart attack at an early age, significantly reduced your most likely underlying sleep apnea that could also kill you. And so I wanted a way to be able to say, hey guys, like, you don't need to do this hardcore nonsense that's not sustainable, because I know, because I've been there, and I want to give you a way that can take you and literally guide you in the easiest way possible from, you know, your borderline lazy life watching Netflix to, hey man, you can still live that life, but like, get a little bit more active. Let's focus on some things that I firmly believe will change your life, such as sleep and stress management. And really, let's dial all this in so that in 30 days, when I say 30 days to optimal health, of course, you're not going to lose 80 pounds in 30 days. But in 30 days, if you implement what I have in the course or what we're talking about, you can literally go from feeling like total crap to feeling significantly better without that barrier of, well, I'm going to have to feel worse before I feel better. And so that's, that was the whole premise behind what I did. So.
No, that's awesome. I was writing down some notes. Like, this might be my headline. Jason calls BS on my comment that you're going to have to go through pain to feel better. But I like how you're saying it, and it's got my brain thinking. I've got a marketing mind. Before I started doing the Wisdom in Wilderness and Just Add Wilderness men's coaching stuff, I did marketing. And so ads company, all that fun stuff. And it's really kind of neat to see. I don't think I've ever heard somebody frame it in this way. It's almost like a warm-up to your fit life.
Yes.
And so before we go and work out, what do you have to do? You got to tell your body, hey, a change is going to happen.
Yes.
Got to get you moving a little bit different. But that warm-up period is much different than the workout.
Dude, it's so crucial. And I'll just add this quick, short little story here. So when I started my business, and this guy that I'm about to tell a story about still does not know this to this day, and I'm waiting for the right moment to tell him. But this guy was my very first client, the very first, like, we'll call it high-ticket client, private client that I ever had. And literally, it was one of those where, like, I'd started my business. My wife was sitting out in the game room, and I was in here. It was like in the evening, and I was in here trying to close him, and like just hoping that I could finally serve somebody privately that I had that burning desire to serve, right? Like, I knew I could help this guy. He reached out to me on Facebook and was in a lot of pain, not terribly out of shape, but was like, dealt with like the death of a parent, and like he was like 30 pounds overweight and just was in a rough spot. And I was like, I know that I can help this guy. Please let me close him. It's one of those where, like, I jumped up in the air and did like a damn somersault in the game room after I closed him. Like, I've got my first client, that shining moment, right? So long story short, this guy got in great shape. He lost like 25, 30 pounds, got a lot of shoulder definition. He's on my website, like, and I don't run traffic to my website, but he's on my website and just really transformed his health. But that was like a year ago, man. And he came to me not that long ago. And I've got a special place in my heart for him. So like, I've done a free coaching call with him a couple of times to like help, like, dude, you're my guy. Like, let's do this. And he's just been struggling. And so I think today is his 40th birthday. And he reached out to me a few weeks ago. He was like, hey man, like, I'm in a really rough spot again. The anniversary of like my mom's or dad's death came up, and like, I just got to do something. And I was like, perfect. You are going to be the first one to test out my new course, and it's only $27. You win, I win, let's go. And so he's like, I'm in, let's do this. And he's in there right now on like week 3 and is loving the content and how basic the exercises are, because he'd gotten completely off track with his workouts, wasn't doing anything. He's like, man, like this is truly what I needed to get back to where I know I can be when we were working together. But I had to have something that wasn't so overwhelming that just made me think that I was going to fail again. Because there's no way I could be back in the gym 5 days a week like what we were doing, right now. I'm just not in shape enough to do it. And so he messaged me yesterday and was like, dude, these videos that you've got in here, because what I did was I put all the videos inside my app. And so when you go in, you have you get an auto message each day with some kind of reminder. And then every other day, I give you 3 videos a week. And each week we focus on what I call one of the 4 core pillars of health. So there's sleep, stress management, nutrition, and fitness. And the reason I list them off in that order is because I feel when you dial in sleep and stress management, it's much easier for you to wrap your head around actually working out and trying to eat healthy. If you're not sleeping well and you're a stressed mess, then you don't want to eat healthy. All you want to do is snack and kill the stress with some carby junk, right? You don't want to work out. But if your stress is managed and you're sleeping well, now it's like a little easier to think about it. And so that's why I have it that way. But he's doing really well in the course. And it's been nice to be able to get feedback from him as I'm like preparing for my big launch on it. So it's been pretty cool to see.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like those 4 core pillars. There's so many, obviously this, but so many areas of life that you just go through and those things suffer. Sleep suffers, stress comes piling on. We went through a season. I just lost my brother-in-law back in November.
I'm sorry to hear that.
He had some issues and battles and it just came to a head. He was 39 years old, would have turned 40 in January. And so it was just like way too young, like you say, in the ICU and like doing chest compressions and those kinds of things. And it's just what we end up doing to our bodies that it just totally takes us away from what we want to do in life. But it's such a subconscious thing. And you got me like kind of convicted here. I'm like, okay, I drink energy drinks. I've never been a coffee dude. So I'm like, okay, I'll drink a Red Bull. And so here's a question. How can a guy like me get away from something that's I know is hurting my body on the inside? I know is kind of working against me in all of these different ways, but it's just that easy thing. It's just that easy kind of deal.
Well,
how do you help guys shift from that into something else?
For sure. So the energy drinks are something that like, you got to get rid of it, man. And I know that, like you just told me that, right? Like, this. So let's not talk about the what, let's talk about the how. Okay. So and this will kind of be just a little nutrition lesson for anybody out there, because this is really can be pretty impactful if you just put the plan into action. So step 1 is to start making a conscious effort to drink more water. Okay. And I know it's easier said than done. One little hack that I tell my clients is to set an alert, not an alarm, but an alert on your phone or computer for every hour. Just do it for a week. And once you get that little nudge, and that's one thing we do in the Man Up community too, is like I do these monthly health habit change challenges. And so at the beginning of the day, I'll give the guy, like we're doing our water, you brought the water or the energy drinks up. So the water intake challenge is half your body weight in ounces. So I give them a little reminder at the beginning of the day, and then I come back and check in at the end of the day. And those little nudges, they go a long way. So same concept with the alert on your phone. If you just set that and you get that, you might not take a few chugs every time you see it, but you're going to get sick of seeing it. And you're going to be like, okay, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to drink some water, right? And so if you can get in the habit of hydrating your body with what it really needs, then you're going to be a little bit less tempted, and even more less tempted to drink the energy drinks. Now, are you drinking sugar or sugar-free energy drinks?
Oh, I drink the white Red Bulls. The coconut one is my vice.
Okay,
so it's got sugar.
Sugar-free.
Yeah, it's got sugar.
Okay, dude, that's okay. Step 1 for you is making the switch from the sugar full to the sugar free, because what's happening, and this is a vicious cycle, and if you continue that current trend, like it will only get worse. So here's the deal: when you drink high amounts of sugar like that, and what I was doing with the Dole juices back in the day, same concept. When you drink high amounts of sugar or consume high amounts of sugar, whether it's a beverage or food, this is the pattern. So you're immediately going to get a glucose spike, followed by an insulin spike to then counteract the glucose, followed by a sugar crash. That sugar crash is going to then lead you to wanting more of your sugar-filled energy drink, or sugar in another form. Could be candy, could be simple carbs where you don't really think about sugar, but potato chips or any carby snack is going to turn to sugar. So that constant craving is what happens. And then this cycle continues to happen. And that's how insulin resistance starts to take place. And when you start to get into the insulin resistance phase, now you're closing in on the pre-diabetes phase, which eventually turns into type 2 diabetes. So that's the scientific part of it. Now, to stop that, step one for you is getting off the sugar to the sugar-free. You'll still get the caffeine. You're still going to get that little bit of caffeine rush, but you're going to get rid of, now I'm not going to tell you that's a long-term fix, because the artificial sweeteners and chemicals that are in those drinks, aren't good long-term either. And I'll tell you, like, if I'm driving late at night, I'm a big fan of the White Monster, but the White Monster is sugar-free. And so I'll have like the White Monster, or there's a black and yellow Monster it's like more of like a tea. It doesn't have the carbonation, but it has the caffeine. And so those are my go-tos late at night. But step one, like I said, is transitioning from the sugar to the sugar-free. And as you're doing that, one thing that I found that is huge and extremely helpful to get rid of a lot of these cravings is adding more healthy fats into your life. Most people don't eat enough healthy fats. And when you eat more healthy fats, it keeps you full longer and can eliminate some of those sugary cravings, because now you're fueling your body and your brain with the things that it needs. And when you do that, you're gonna start to notice that you're gonna crave that kind of stuff less. And so healthy fats, I mean, salmon and any fatty fish is good. Avocados are one of the best. I eat at least one, sometimes 2 avocados a day. I easily have had, let's see, in January, I posted about that. I think I had like 60 avocados in January. So, but a convenient one that you can't slice up an avocado and have it in the car, I get it. A convenient one are nuts, and not peanuts. They're a legume. They're not very nutrient dense, but walnuts, almonds, pecans, pistachios, seeds are great. Pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, those are great to throw in a salad. But if you're looking for a sweeter nut, like pecans and pistachios have a little bit of a sweeter flavor. And those are the ones that I would go to. Like if you're craving something sweet and you know that you shouldn't be grabbing candy or something, obviously you have to use some self-discipline here. But getting more healthy fats into your life, increasing your water intake, and then making the transition away from the sugar-filled to the sugar-free as step one, and then continuing to work that other stuff in. Becoming a full-time water drinker and eliminating that stuff from your life would be a huge habit change for you for sure.
Oh man, yeah. I take back of all the different things like the potato chips and the other things that you crave that you don't necessarily associate with sugar, and to kind of fill that space on your insides. And so, yeah, this is really cool. I've got to ask you, because what I do so much is outdoors. It's backpacking, it's hiking. And with
you live
a lot
in
of these
Colorado
guys,
Springs, dude, you don't have any excuse, right?
I can see Pikes Peak right out my window. I'm staring at the snow coming over the mountains right now.
I don't need to hear anymore.
But these guys that come on my trips, so they join this program, and sometimes they come from sea level. Sometimes they come where they've never backpacked before. And I'm putting 40 pounds, 45 pounds on their backs. And now we're at 10,000 feet. And now we're hiking 3 miles. What would you suggest for these guys listening to help prep for something like that? Because obviously altitude is something that's hard to train for.
Yeah, for sure.
Without
Unless
being
you're training in altitude, right?
Right. So that's something that I can't help a lot of guys with. Like I can't have you go and hiking in Leadville, Colorado, which is above 10,000 feet. It's the highest city in the nation, just to go train. That's where Lance Armstrong came to train, because he could just blow it away. But he would still lose that race every year. It was hilarious. This local dude trashed him every year. But for the other thing, and I love the thought process, and it's like opening up my mind, but how can somebody warm up to start getting fit for this type of an activity? Sure. Where it's more kind of an endurance thing. I mean, I don't have trails that are just going to smoke people. So I pick something that, it's going to push you, and you're going to work out, and you're going to be feeling it by the time we get there. But I'm not looking to take you up a 14er and just absolutely crush your soul on this trip.
Sure.
So what would you say, and maybe we have to partner up and I got to hire you to do some stuff, but to get these guys in like hiking shape, to get these guys, because part of my thing is get out into the wilderness because it helps you in so many different facets of life, through
Sure.
mental, through physical, to go on hikes, to go out and get into these things. But again,
Absolutely.
when it hurts and you go to tie on your boots and you got to hold your breath to do it, you got to unbutton your pants when you're in the car because it's just squeezing the gut,
Yeah.
How can these guys move more towards that thing?
Well, the short answer, since you brought up Lance Armstrong, is blood doping. Look, I mean, I had to go there, man.
Get your HGH, guys.
Yeah. So the thing is, to answer your question, it can be a complex answer, but the easy answer for me would be when, and this might be part of what you do, and I'm happy to help you with this, but maybe this is part of what you do is, hey, like if you're going to come on this trip with me, I want you to have the best experience possible. I'm going to provide, I'm going to provide the experience. You're going to be out in nature. You're going to get sunlight, all these crucial things that we are meant to have in our life on a daily basis. And don't even get me started on the desk job people who don't ever get sunlight. Like, I think that's a major issue with our mental problems in this country, between social media, video games, and the kids not being social with each other and using social media instead, and the lack of sunlight, dude. It's a very, very sad story, but save that for another day. The main thing there would be setting up kind of like a bridge program, and like something like with my course, but like more geared toward what you got going on. So, maybe it's about, hey, like, I want you to have the best possible experience. And I know from my past experiences that guys who are not in great shape and don't do any prep work prior to coming on this trip with me sometimes get a little bit gassed and don't enjoy the experience as much because of their physical state. And you got to craft your messaging around that. But I think the key factor would be for those guys, obviously they can't mimic altitude, but they can. And even with your help, maybe it's about, hey, like, let's you and I research some places in your area where you could go for, let's say, a couple weeks leading up to this trip, and at least go and start to get a little bit of hill hiking in on your own. Doesn't have to be anything strenuous, but let's get your body used to going up some incline, going down some decline, which can sometimes be harder than going up the incline, as you know. But get your body, your knees, your ankles, your joints used to these changes in elevation, changes in angles as you're walking, so that when you do come on this trip, it's still going to be challenging physically, but it's not going to completely take it out of you because you've spent the last, couple of weeks starting to gear up for it. Now, obviously, you'd love for everybody to be in peak health when they come with you so that they can get the maximum experience, but that's not the case. Some of these guys are going to be overweight and out of shape. That's what our country is. So the reality is you got to meet them where they're at. And if you meet them where they're at and come up with a plan that's reasonable for them and say, and really craft the message in a way where you put your heart into it. It's like, dude, I really want you to have the best experience. And in order for you to do so, I ask that as part of your homework, you implement these few steps. Get them to start drinking more water. The hydration piece is huge with altitude. Get them, say, look, I want you to aim for half your body weight in ounces in water and really get that as a piece that just becomes consistent so that when you come on the trip, we can maximize your experience. And then set up a plan. Like, this is what we need you to do for at least a couple of weeks leading up to this so that you're ready to take on the additional load, because I'm going to be giving you a backpack. You're going to have a backpack on your back. You're going to be going up, quite a few thousand feet here. And I want you to have the best experience possible. And so I think it's meeting them where they're at, coming up with a plan that's legitimate, that's not overwhelming, and having them really kind of think outside the box and be like, you know what? I'm paying to go on this trip, so it's in my best interest to follow this, do this homework that really isn't going to take a lot out of my life. It's just a commitment to me to really have the most fun I possibly can on this trip. And then, you can tweak it as you go. But I think that would probably be my recommendation in a situation like that.
No, I love it. It's kind of waking up your body, letting your body know that there's going to be a change happening, and it doesn't need to be jumping into a freezing cold lake change to your body. You don't have to shock the system so bad. Because on our last trip, I think we ended up hiking a little under 20 miles total. So we hike 3 miles into camp, but we're there for 4 days.
Okay.
And we're not changing camp every single day. You set up base camp and that's where we come. But now we're out exploring. We're climbing mountains. We're going up peaks. We're just checking out the area and getting into it. And so it's one of those things that I'm like, okay, guys need, and it's part of the process of going into it, but I've never developed anything. I'm not a fitness trainer. I'm just a dude that loves mountains. I'm like, you need to go hiking. You need to go put on those boots. You got to break those things in. Put some weight on your pack, even if it's just 10, 15 pounds to start, then 20 pounds. Work your body up to it a little bit. But it's just kind of like trying to encourage men to get out and get healthy. Hopefully this is a habit. One of the reasons why I do what I do is when guys come on my trip, they go home with the gear.
Okay.
All you pack is clothes and you come. When you leave, you're taking a backpack, a sleeping bag, a ground pad, a jet boil stove, headlamp, everything you need except for the tent. I don't give everybody tents. But when they go home, now they have everything they need to go camping. And so I want them to go home and do this again and take your buddies and take your family, which kind of I want to switch into and ask you, as a family man, as a business guy, and I know you work with business professionals, for the guys who everybody's got the excuse, I don't have time. And I know that's kind of one of the biggest BSs that we tell ourselves in the first place. But as a family, how is it that you've structured this to where this is a habit for the family and a habit for the children to get out into that sunlight and to get out and do those things? My kids, I equip them. They all got packs. They all got little survival kits. They can go hiking with dad. And if I fall and hit my head, I know I'm good. My kids are taking care of me. I'm going to be warm. There's going to be shelter. I've trained my kids that way, but I see most people don't have the confidence to even take their kids into the woods.
Sure. Yeah. And that's a great question. I think ultimately it comes down to priorities, man. Like the biggest reason why people don't exercise is the perceived lack of time. Like that's just it. It is the most common response for non-exercisers. And when you say you don't have the time, all that does is immediately tells me that it's not a priority for you, and that's it. And that's okay. If it's not a priority for you right now at this point in your life, my hope for you would be that it does become a priority for you in your life, because most people who don't exercise for long periods of time are going to end up with some kind of issues, even if their eating habits are perfect. If you eat like, the healthiest diet you possibly can, let's use the Mediterranean diet. It's got a great reputation, right? A lot of healthy fats, good healthy oils, lean meats, vegetables. You use a diet like that. Okay. If you follow a Mediterranean diet your whole life and you don't exercise at all, as you age, you're going to have some bone loss. Even as a man, you're going to be at higher risk for osteoporosis. You're going to be weak. You're not going to be able to pick up things. Who wants to be 65 years old and still in pretty decent health? I mean, these days, 65 is kind of young, right? Like, I hope that at 65, I just talked to a guy the other day who is 66 and still runs. I don't know why I was on the phone with him. It was a poor quality lead. But we had a good conversation. He's 66 and runs 2 to 3 miles a day. And his goal is that when he's 76, he's still doing the same thing. And I'm not a big runner. I don't encourage anybody to start running. If that becomes your thing, great, more power to you. I just think there's better ways, more efficient ways to stay healthy without all that wear and tear on your knees and joints. Mm-hmm. Your story about the hiking, I mean, I'm in great shape. My wife and I, a couple of years ago, went and did a 10-mile hike on one of the lakes out here. And dude, I played soccer for 15 years. One of my old knee injuries started flaring up, and I was like, oh no, this is not good. And we were only halfway through, and I'm like, dude, this is going to be a miserable trip back. And so even for somebody like me who's in really great health, I mean, my body fat percentage is 10 or 9, something around there. And I consider myself to be in really good health. And even for somebody like me, one of those injuries flares up and you're in trouble. And so to answer your question, these guys that you're trying to get that built into your life, it just has to become a priority. And if you're telling yourself you don't have enough time, it's just not a big enough priority. So the shift there is all mindset, is deciding how you're going to best tackle this, how you're best going to make it a priority so that you can work towards becoming the healthiest version of yourself. And in order to do that, it's all about starting slow, man. I'll tell you right now, and I tell people this all the time, that the mental process behind walking 3 times a week for 10 minutes is the exact same as walking 5 times a week for 30 minutes. Exact same. One of them, you only walk for 30 minutes. The other one, you met the American Heart Association's recommendation of 150 minutes a week. That's what it is, a moderate intensity exercise. And so 30 minutes and 150 minutes seems like a huge gap, but we're talking mindset here, and the mental process is exactly the same. And so when you do that and you start to rewire your mind and you start to say, you know what, I can do this. And when you change this negative self-talk to, I don't have time, to, you know what, I need to do this for myself, so I'm going to make the time. There's not a person walking this face of the earth that can tell me they cannot make time for 10 minutes of exercise at some point in their day, especially not in the United States. Stop scrolling Facebook, stop scrolling Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever you're scrolling. Get off Netflix. You've got 10 minutes. Carve that into your day and make it a priority. But you're not going to stop there. And that's the magic. And referencing something we spoke about earlier in the show was the whole compensation thing, is that, you know, I said that as you get sick and more overweight, your body continuously tries to compensate to make you feel as good as you possibly can. Well, the reverse happens, because when you start your health journey and you start slow and you start to ease into it, your body is going to reward you heavily, especially in the beginning. And when you start to do this and you walk and you commit to 3 times a week for 10 minutes, I can guarantee you that I would venture to say at least 90% of the people that did that are not going to stop at 10 minutes, at least by week 3, but maybe even by week 2. Like, you're going to feel good enough. Your body's going to say, oh no, we need more. You're going to keep going because I feel great. I'm sleeping better. My stress levels are lower. I feel more energetic throughout the day. These changes happen quick, but you got to buy into the process. And that's the thing, going back to the barrier that you originally mentioned, where I called BS on it, that you said, is that we often have this stigma, or this very big mental barrier, this wall that tells us that it all has to happen at once or else it's not going to work. Well, that's the issue with our society today, is that we live in an immediate gratification society. You and I both have $1,000 computers in our hand that we can look up any answer we want on Google and get it immediately. Mm-hmm. We can ask Siri. I can go down in my kitchen and tell Alexa to look up something for me, and she's going to give me the answer pretty quickly. So you can go out and I don't know about where depends on how far out you live in the woods, but any town just about in our country, you can drive within 5 minutes and go get some kind of fast food. We love immediate gratification. The one area of life that immediate gratification makes 0 sense at all and doesn't exist is with your health. And so if we can and that's part of my message, is trying to break down this mental barrier, this wall that we all have formed of thinking that it all has to happen at once. You didn't gain 50 pounds overnight. You're certainly not going to lose 50 pounds overnight. And it's all about embracing the journey. If you can embrace the journey and realize that these daily habits compound each other and they all add up to the big picture, and all you need to do is keep failing forward. If you have a bad day, oh well, you move forward to the next day. You may take 2 steps forward and take 1 step back, but as long as you're moving forward, these healthy habits that you're forming over a long span of time have a compounding effect. And you might not ever be somebody with abs, but wouldn't you want to rather be somebody who is only 10 pounds overweight versus 85 pounds overweight? I know I certainly would. And so I think that's the most challenging part about the obesity epidemic in our country, is getting people to realize that we didn't get to this state in 5 years, 10 years, or even 20 years. Like, this has been in the works for a really long time. The projection right now is that by 2030, our country will have a 50% obesity rate. We're right under 40 the last time I checked, like 39.6 or something. By 2030, that's 10 years away, less than 10 now. And I firmly believe that at the rate that we're going to be there before 2030. And that's why I'm so passionate about what I do, is that's 50% of our country that's not just overweight, but is obese. And when you talk about obesity and all the risks that it carries, it's a very sad process that I'm watching happen to our country. And so eliminating or at least trying to trying to break down some of that barrier of, hey, it's got to all happen at once, or I'm just not going to do it. It's one of the biggest challenges of my business. That's for sure.
Man, so many things come into my mind, and there's so many directions that I'm looking like, how much time do we got left? How much time we got left?
You're good for a little bit. Yeah.
Couple things. I want to pull on the string of what you talked about of getting outside, because as you're talking about the percentages of obesity and the percentage of people who are overweight, a lot of the things that I look at also is what is called urbanization and the amount of depression that is on the rise. And I think it's up 68% from 2013 in kids, like 16 to, I think it was 20 something years old.
Right. And
the amount of the way that depression is working is because we've, like you talked about, we don't get sunlight. We don't interact. We're inside. The 10 minutes a day, guys, that you're looking for, you could find if you just stop scrolling while you're on the toilet. If you could just put your phone down, do your business, and get off, you'll save 10 minutes right there. So it can be found anywhere.
Yes.
But the fact of getting outside, we've just so much trained ourselves to focus on screens and focus on artificial lights. Even this one I got pointing in my face right now. I hate it. But if I don't have it, then I'm black. So nobody can see me. I'm in a shadow. But artificial everything, it just drives me bonkers. We just live in this artificially made up world. And I never feel better than when I am in nature, when I am in outside, when I am amongst the sunlight and the dirt and the real types of things that not created us, but that we're in creation.
Sure.
So pulling that string about sunlight, I know it's something that you're just ready to unleash on us, but what can these people do? Like, you live in the Dallas area. You got lakes, you got other things that you can get out. People who may not necessarily be like me and live in the mountains, and I can just go disappear, not hear a soul easily. Sure. What can people do who might be listening in major metro areas to get out and to actually get sunlight?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. And, I saw somebody on Twitter that I follow, which that's one of my least used platforms, but I saw someone over there, and I would have to find the tweet, and maybe I can look for it while I'm coming up with this or telling you my answer. But it was a great tweet, and it addressed this. Okay, and so the thing is this, man, like it again comes down to priorities. And what we have to realize is that when you're inside all day, like the most crucial part of getting out in sunlight is vitamin D, right? Like if you're not getting vitamin D, when I was working in corporate wellness, there are so many people that I would talk to that spent, all day behind a computer or behind a desk. And, I was constantly getting blood work back on these people who all had low vitamin D levels. So now they're all having to take vitamin D supplements, which is just not the same. It's not. And so, what I think is happening here is that as we become more and more indoor, because, and that was part of the tweet, is that it was something about, society telling us to stay out of the sun, right? And I didn't buy into okay, here it is. So this guy he was talking, and I don't resonate with all of it, but his tweet was, the USDA and doctors tell us to eat high carb, low fat, low salt, eat seed oils, be vegan, and low red meat, eat breakfast, and avoid the sun. Okay. And his stance is, again, I don't agree with all this, but he said, I think you should do the opposite. Lots of meat, saturated fat, which I do believe in, salt, here or there, lift weights, huge, fast, intermittent fasting, and lots of sun. Now, is there an extent of, with the sun piece? I mean, yes, should you wear sunscreen so you're not getting skin cancer? Absolutely. But as long as you're lathering up, especially in the summertime in Texas here, dude, like you've got to wear sun. You've got to wear sunscreen. There's no exceptions. I've seen some of my friends not wear sunscreen and get massive blisters on their feet within a few hours. I'm like, dude, like, what's your problem, right? And you just don't take your health seriously enough. And that's okay. Not my body. But with that being said, it comes down to priorities. And I think that the biggest thing that people can do, especially people with desk jobs, is really breaking this cycle and make it a priority that on your lunch break, or if you don't get a lunch break, go take a 5-minute or 10-minute walk and get outside, even if it's not nature like you have. I mean, obviously you're in a certain special situation. Like most people don't have what your great outdoors to go look at. But I live in a concrete jungle, dude. I mean, it's, I'm in suburban America. I mean, you can see Pikes Peak. I can see my neighbor's house. And so, I could throw a golf ball into their window if I wanted to. And so, but that doesn't mean that you mentioned the lakes, those are within driving distance to me. We have many neighborhood parks in my neighborhood. So it might just be a matter of me saying, all right, it's a nice day. I'm going to take my son to the park for an hour. I'll push him on the swing. We both get out. We get to get active. He can play on the playground while I sit and walk around. And we're at least out in quote unquote our nature. We're still among trees. We're still among, there's a little creek by there. So it's still about getting out and getting that exposure. And the more that we lose that is a huge piece of the mental health. I'm telling you, man, like between that, the social media in a negative way, I believe that social media has basically, you can go two ways. You can use it in a positive light or in a negative light. In a positive light is if you're using it for business, somebody like me, who literally what I do is I post my stuff and I check my notifications and my notifications only, my DMs, and then I'm off probably to another social media channel to do the same thing, right? Very rarely am I scrolling my Facebook feed. It's full of negativity. Now, I'll go on there and try to support some of my people in my network drop them a comment, just to show support because they do the same to me. But I'm not on there reading political posts and news posts. I know there's school shootings, dude. I worked in ICU for 6 years. I've seen people die almost every day of my life when I was in there. I've seen some very, very horrible things that most people don't ever want to experience. And so I know there's negative waiting around every single corner. So why would I choose to expose myself to that? Politics, I don't care whether you're Republican or Democrat, means nothing to me. I have my own views. You have your own views. We don't need to be down each other's throat about it, right? Like it's not going to change anything. And so when I'm sitting here, that was one of the big pushes that I made after I started my business, was making a huge concerted effort to eliminate negativity from my life. I've eliminated most TV. I was a diehard sports fan. I'm originally from Michigan, so all my teams are Detroit.
Oh man!
Luckily for me, they all suck now, right? I had my glory with the Red Wings. I had some glory years with the Tigers. I've had my glory years with the Pistons. The Lions have always sucked. They all suck now, which has been really good for me because I have no reason to tune in. Call me a fair weather fan, but I'm happy being that because I don't want to go watch a losing product because all it does is send negative signals to my brain. So you must choose positivity and choose to be happy. And part of doing that is getting out in nature, exposing yourself to sunlight daily or at least every other day and getting some of that into your life. And then making a huge effort to start to eliminate negativity from your life. It's the only option you have if you want to live your best life.
Oh, absolutely. And one of my mantras and one of the things is to get out and be around things that are alive. And so whether part of that is people, there's a lot of dead people walking around. Part of that is concrete jungles, like you say. Get out around nature. Get around stuff that is actually alive. Get around positivity. And I mean, I can't agree with you more on a lot of that stuff that you're talking about, but I just feel like there's so much. And one of that study I was referring to with the depression, it said the biggest cause and the biggest change is that people now have obsessive negative thoughts.
Yes.
Obsessive negative thoughts. Not just negative thoughts, but now it's like we're obsessing on the negativity. And
that's what people, they feed off of it because that's what the world feeds us. Mm-hmm. The news and politics make you take that bait, make you pick a side. That's what's divided our country, right? Like we don't have to get in a whole political debate, but and I was listening to Andy Frisella's new podcast, the Real AF. I don't know if you've tuned into it yet. Awesome podcast. He got out of the MF CEO and is doing the Real AF. And they were talking about something the other, which I don't remember the episode, but talking about how black people and white people, how the news leads us to believe that we're so divided. But then I don't know anybody in my life that's black, Hispanic, anybody who I feel like, I feel like I'm angry at. Like, we all have good relationships. We don't ever talk about the stuff that's being talked about on the news. And as a matter of fact, I don't know anybody that talks about the police brutality all the time and all the stuff that the news just force feeds us.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we talk about negativity, if you can choose to tune that stuff out. If you're a Netflix guy, by all means, keep watching Netflix. That doesn't mean you have to get on social media and scroll your news feed. I talked about my sports teams. I'll just bring this up. I have a Detroit sports Twitter account that I used to be obsessed with. And it was basically all sports and all negativity. I have not tweeted on that account in months. And I have like 7,000 followers on there. I built up a huge audience over there because I used to tweet all the time and I used to feed into that. And now, man, like I have 2 Twitter accounts. One of them is that, and then one of them is my Dad Bod Health Twitter account where I follow some health accounts, but then I follow a lot of like business-minded people and financial-minded people that are like doing things and positive tweets and like ways that you can make more money as a side hustle or ways that you can save money on taxes or, just positivity. And it's so crazy to me that when I go to those 2 feeds, like I'll go and I'll log on to Twitter and I'll pull open, the positive feed, and I'm just seeing like tweet after tweet after tweet. I'm like, oh, I like that. Oh, I can resonate with that. Oh, I'm going to save that because I could use part of that in my content later. It's like, though that all just is all positive. And then I go over to the sports thing and it's like people constantly complaining about the Lions and how bad they are and like what the front office is going to do. And then, oh, Trump said this and Trump said that. Like, and within 30 seconds, man, of going down that timeline, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm out of here. And I made a commitment to myself and my life that I wasn't going to expose myself to this. But it's a harsh reminder that when I go over there, that is the general population who continues to feed into that. And that's why we're at today. It's nuts, man.
That is crazy.
It's the anti-personal development.
Oh, that is good.
I mean, it is literally night and day, those 2 feeds. And I was telling my wife the other day, I was like, and it's basically the same story. And I never knew that literally just one, like in that it's like financial and health Twitter versus like sports and political Twitter. And the difference is night and day, man. One will depress you and then one will like inspire you. I'm like, this is why people, if you choose to make social media positive in your life, it can absolutely help you. It can absolutely help change your pattern, change your life, and really change your path in life if you allow it to. Because there's a lot of smart people on social media. But if you're following the wrong crowd, the sheep who continue to follow what the mainstream press is putting out for us and all the negativity, man, you're destined for failure because it's a recipe for disaster.
I can't agree more. It's just, we don't have enough time to go into.
Yeah, dude, we could go on for hours about that. I didn't like, I'm one of the most least political guys you could ever meet, but like it's everywhere, right? I mean, that's an observation is what it is, All
right. Funny question for those of you listening, you won't be able to see this, but since you're a Michigan dude, where are you? Yeah, I'm putting up the hand. Where are you on the glove?
I'm Ann Arbor. I was born in Ann Arbor, so down here somewhere.
Right in the center of your palm. If that's what you're listening, every Michigan person I've ever met, I'm right here. This is where I grew up, and this is you got to hold up the hand and show where you're from.
Yeah, I was born in Ann Arbor, and I actually went. This is a quick funny story. I went and visited some family there, but I went with my next door neighbor to the Lions and Cowboys game. And it was Stafford broke his back again. And they were playing like Jeff Driscoll or something. And so I went in with zero expectations. Really was just there to eat a lot of crappy food for 4 days because I don't ever do that. And I was like, you know what? My goal is to like binge out. I'll drink some craft beer and crush some like chicken and waffles and all kinds of stuff. So it was a great time. But man, like, going back there, just being exposed to that sports environment that I'm just not in anymore, it was kind of depressing because all those people, like, they ride or die with their team. And I'm not against you cheering for a sports team, but like, if that's your freaking life and that's what you live for, and now you're depressed because football's over and all you have to do is look forward to the draft. I used to live that life, and I just have I have a lot of sympathy for those people, but it's like, dude, wake up. You got one shot on this planet, and you're spending years of your life obsessed over a team who knows nothing about you, could care less whether you live or not, because they don't know you, and that is what you're living for. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me, man.
No, I get it. I was a diehard sports fan too, but my team doesn't know I exist. And
Right.
so for me to, obsess over somebody who doesn't even know I exist, it's kind of
it's ridiculous.
If you
man.
take a moment just to think about it, you'll understand.
That's part of growth, that's and that's part of growing up and really, becoming a better man. And to be honest with you, man, like, look, if the Lions start to put together some wins, and I'll buy back in a little bit, because I enjoy watching winning football. Who doesn't? Like, if that's your thing. But I'm also not going to let them ruin my Sunday. Why would I buy into a garbage product that has given me a lifetime of nothing but disappointment? Like, it just doesn't make sense. And so I sorry to go off the tangent there, man, but it is what it is. And I think that all men can benefit from that, because look, there's a lot of guys out there that are going to listen to the show that are still fully entrenched into that. And maybe this is a wake-up call. It's like, hey, dude, there's a lot more to life than being obsessed over a sports team who doesn't even know you exist. I mean, that's the sad part about it.
Yeah, so true. I want you to let everybody know where they can find you. And man,
Sure.
Did I get this right? The group that you're talking about is kind of like the warm up to your fitness. That's $27.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Okay,
yeah,
that's a stupid no-brainer. That's like 2 trips to Burger King, and it's there. How can they find it?
Yeah, I wanted to create an offer that just didn't make sense not to buy it. And part of what I was running ads to before was my Man Up community. And what I realized is that it's very hard for somebody to buy into a subscription program when they don't know, like, and trust you. Cold traffic, they know that cold traffic is hesitant to have a credit card charge every month when it's like, well, who is this guy, right? So I wanted to come in at a price point that just blew your socks off. And so that's called 30 Days to Optimal Health. So with that, I don't have the URL available to me, but anybody who's interested in that, I don't know how long it'll stay at that price. That's kind of like the introductory. It's not going to go crazy high, but anybody that's listening to this, they can shoot me an email at jason@dadbodhealth.com and just say, hey, man, I heard you on this podcast. Just tell them to put your name in there, and I'll honor that price for any of your listeners. But literally what you get, dude, is what I explained earlier. I mean, if there's some video content in there, it's going to get you drinking water. It's going to get you doing some gratitude journaling, which is huge. Get you really focused in on the stress management piece, and really help you change and shift your habits, but in the simplest way possible. So that's that. They can always email me there with any questions. The Man Up community, if you've heard enough about me to know, like, and trust me, that's themanupcommunity.com. And you can get a 7-day free trial on there. With that, you get access to my app, which has a whole library of workouts. You get access to my private group. Like I said, we do the monthly habit change challenges. I do weekly live trainings on there on Sundays to get the guys ready for the week. You've got access to a bunch of meal plans, a bunch of stress management resources, really just a very supportive group to be a part of, man. When you're trying to go on your health journey, being part of that is so huge. Dude, I got a guy in there who has been in there for 3.5 months, has dropped 30 or 35 pounds,
Wow.
and posted a picture today with full ab definition. Not total six-pack yet, but dude, it's been amazing to see. So we've got stories like that coming out of there a lot. And then to connect with me on social, Instagram is just at dadbodhealth. I'm most present on Facebook and LinkedIn lately. And LinkedIn is whatever the LinkedIn is with Dad Bod Health at the end. And then Facebook, let's see, I forget my URL, but you just look up Jason Priest. I'm the dude in the dark blue shirt with his arms crossed like a badass, which I'm really not. Anyway.
Sporting the good beard.
Yeah. So yeah, man, but email is always good. If you ever have any questions about anything that I do, or if I can help any of your audience in any way, I pour my heart and soul into my clients, as you can probably well tell. My mission is just to help people get healthier so that they can be around long-term for their children.
That's awesome. And that's a way, I mean, come on guys, it's a no-brainer. Wake up your body, wake up the insides so the outside can look and feel better as well. Last question for you. And this is something that I've started asking everybody is
Sure.
The wins, the testimonies, like what's working in your life, how God's blessing you, what's happening right now.
Yeah, well, you mentioned God. My relationship with God has gotten a lot stronger over the last few months. My wife is Catholic, and so it's been a little bit of an adjustment because I was never. She was raised Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
She's calling me now. She was raised Catholic, and I got nothing against it, but it's been great. I was the guy who I don't know. Do you listen to much country?
A little bit.
Texas country. Do you know William Clark Green?
I don't.
Okay, look up William Clark Green and look up the song called "She Likes the Beatles" and listen to that song, and that is my wife and I. Okay, and so he has a line in there that says, "She goes to church and I stay at home. She likes the Beatles and I like the Stones." So check out that song.
I have heard that song. I just didn't know who
it's a great song. Yeah, and so that was the former me was that guy, and now like. I'm in church every Sunday, man. It's been a great thing for my whole family because now having that father presence for my son has been amazing. But what's working and what's not? Well, what's working is what's hopefully about to start working is my ads for my new program because I think that it's going to be a hit once we get the targeting dialed in because I think that a lot of guys are going to be able to benefit from that, especially at that price point. I've got some awesome projects in the works. I've recently partnered with a female trainer who's in my network, and we are creating. And this is an awesome concept. It's really still in the beginning phases. I'm meeting with her tomorrow, but it's basically going to be a one-stop shop, essentially an online health concierge. So you can and really our target market for that is going to be husbands and wives or partners who are just struggling to get healthy and know that they need both parties on board. I wanted to have a male and female presence. So being a registered nurse, I've also partnered with a physician who does a full blood workup on any of the clients who choose that. And then I can interpret that, go over everything with them. If you're a dude who doesn't ever go to the doctor, this type of service, it will at least give you either some peace of mind or some awareness about what's possibly going on. And then, you can take the next step. We're bringing in all aspects though. It's going to be, there's going to be some financial aspects where I got a financial advisor coming in and kind of help look at, your long-term growth. So it's, we're trying to optimize your whole life, right? It's not just about health and wellness, even though the focal point will be on that. But so that's something that's really fun. That's really in the works. That's what I was doing at V Live for last night. But yeah, man, that's where I'm at right now. Just trying to grow my brand and really kind of start to take the next step with my business. I never wanted to be a one-man show. So I'm starting to try to come up with ideas on how I'm going to take the next step, maybe get an employer to partner with her to get my message out there more. The more people on your team, the easier it is to really, create this movement that I hope to create.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate your time today, and there's so much value. Guys, make sure you download, make sure you subscribe, or you can come back to this thing over and over again.
Dude, there's a lot of gems in there for sure, yeah.
Yeah, so many little tips, so many little things that you'll pass over the first time and go back and re-dig in and find them. Because your health, you've got one body, you got one life, and who wants to live life just feeling like crap all the time? Like that's no good way to do that.
You deserve more.
You wake up and you feel like crap. You go to bed and you feel like crap. Like just put a stop to it. Warm up your body. I love that whole philosophy. Get huge, your body started, and then you can focus. When you start feeling good and you're starting to get those wins, you're way the heck more motivated to go and pursue it further. So at least give yourself a chance. That's what I'm asking today. But Jason, thank you for joining us. It's been awesome chatting with you, man. And I really appreciate you coming on with us.
You got it, brother. My pleasure, man.
You've been listening to the Wisdom and Wilderness Podcast. Real men, real life, real faith. The newest podcast for men with your host, Mitch London. We'll see you next time.